For our project, we chose to interview our inmate over their opinion on the justice system. We wanted to understand exactly how someone in this type of situation felt in jail, as well as their opinions on what they were charged with, how they were treated, if they took a plea, and how this has affected their views. Having an inside perspective has helped us better to determine our own opinions on how people are treated in the system.
John Gilbert, a 33-year-old white male, was sentenced to 16 years at the Barron County Detention Center in Kentucky for trafficking a controlled substance, a crime punishable by a prison term of 5 to 10 years for a first-time offense or a prison term of 10 to 20 years for a second or subsequent offense. Drug trafficking refers to the sale and distribution of or importing and exporting of illegal drugs.
Jonathan Gilbert, like most offenders, sought legal counsel from a public defender rather than a private attorney. We thought, like most, that lawyers were Saul Goodman types, where they would fight for their client's freedom, finding every weakness in the prosecution's argument and staying up days and nights working hard on their clients' cases. This, however, may be further from the truth than we thought. Gilbert stated, "My court-appointed lawyer just herded us through like cattle." According to the NALP, the entry-level public defender salary for 2010 was $47,500, compared to anywhere from $70,000 to $135,000 for private firms, depending on firm size. Also, in Missouri, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania, many defenders had so many cases that they were unable to represent hundreds of new clients. According to Stephen Schulhofer, a law professor from NYU, the public believes that every criminal defendant has a right to the effective assistance of counsel, and that is just so far out of touch with reality it's hard to even begin describing it. Public defenders who handle a high volume of cases may not even remember their defendant's name.
Gilbert met with his attorney and never went to trial. "I was scared into signing a plea," he said. More than 95% of felony defendants are convicted through a guilty plea, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. According to Judge Caprice Cosper of the Harris County Criminal Court in Houston, the system would collapse if every case that was filed in the criminal justice system were to be set for trial. In class, we reenacted a plea bargain in which the defendant was charged with possession of heroin. The defendant in our group was under an immense amount of pressure and had almost no control over their circumstances. They had to trust the prosecution and the defense attorneys would come to an agreement that's suitable for them. And this was a simulation with no real consequences involving students who are relatively progressive. So our system is set up to not function the way it was actually intended.
Additionally, juries are often unfamiliar with the meaning of mitigating and aggravating factors when deciding on punishment. They also tend to be more sensitive to aggravating factors rather than mitigating factors. The punishment tends to fit the severity of the crime without concern for background factors including socioeconomics, race, family history, or juries. Gilbert stated, "No matter how you work or how you act, they treat you the same as the worst of us." He feels as if the guards look at them as criminals. Like shit, he said. When asked if Gilbert has experienced or witnessed unjust treatment from correctional officers, he wrote, "Almost every day." In jails, most inmates are technically innocent because they are awaiting trial and often unable to make bail, a price that can be extremely high, especially for those with a lower socioeconomic status. Innocent people in jail have very few rights. They are subject to strip searches and cell searches, for example. Gilbert was not found innocent, but most likely faced the same lack of rights found in a prison for convicted offenders.
The system also sets offenders up for failure by being mostly punitive. After learning about factors like recidivism rates, we have come to see the value of rehabilitation. Unfortunately, psychological treatment, like group or individual psychotherapy, which Gilbert didn't receive, is not common for many reasons. There are often long wait lists to receive treatment. Prisoners often move from prison to prison with little notice, so offenders will have to completely start over with family background, goals, establishing a rapport, and many other things with a new mental health professional. And often, mental health services are reserved to very serious offenders, like those who commit sexual assaults or substance abusers.
According to Gilbert, if he could change anything about the justice system, then he would change the time length of sentence against the crime you commit. Crimes like Gilbert's, nonviolent offenses, receive more jail time in Kentucky than having intercourse with a person of less than 14 years of age or a person who is unable to consent because of an intellectual disability, a crime punishable by 5 to 10 years of jail.
Gilbert said he owes his family something more than just money. Due to mandatory sentencing laws, offenders are often required to stay in jail for a set amount of time according to the severity of the offense. House arrest and drug treatment programs are options for juveniles, but unfortunately, many more adult offenders are required to serve their sentences away from their families. Because they are in jail, it is harder for them to receive better treatment options available to anyone outside.
In doing this project, many of us have had a change of heart about the legal system. We realize the justice system isn't like the movies. Most people don't have fancy lawyers that fight for them. Most don't have a trial. Offenders are given decades for non-violent drug-related crimes. The justice system is punitive and usually does a poor job of rehabilitation. Gilbert does not feel like he was treated fairly, and he feels that the system does not have his best interests in mind. We have learned that how the system is portrayed in media is different from reality.